Probably the greatest piece of advice that I'd give these business leaders, these entrepreneurs, is surround yourself with really good people. Surround yourself with big picture people, with people who are going to keep you good perspective, keep you grounded. I can tell you the key to my success has been surrounding myself with people smarter than myself, mentors, business coaches that have helped invest in me, help keep me from being more stupid, help me make better decisions. So to all your listeners that are starting something, surround yourself with really wise people, coaches or mentors that will tell you the things that no one else will tell you. They have the guts to tell you the things that other people aren't going to say, especially your employees. You need one or two people like that to help you stay grounded. So that's my number one piece of advice.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, HR Huntsman. And HR started his journey leaving high school and joining the military. So then used the military in order to go to college and wanted to get or went in and got some degree in computer science. Did the Air Force alongside that to getting the degree. And then started a nonprofit at age 28, started it from scratch. And then over the next 25 years, built a large nonprofit that had a great amount of impact. And then pursued a lot of different programs with others as well. Found that he loved building teams. And so he retired from the nonprofit to move over to the current business, which is helping to build helping the next generation of young leaders to develop and to become business owners themselves. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, HR.
Devin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me, my friend.
Absolutely. Excited to have you on. So I just gave a quick run through to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack a little bit and tell us a little bit about how you were coming out of high school and joined the military.
Yeah, so I grew up, thanks for asking, by the way. I grew up in a really broken, dysfunctional, alcoholic home with lots of stuff told to me as a kid. Kids like you don't succeed, kids like you don't go to college. Just a real rough childhood. So I thought the military was my only option. I was told you can either join the military or be a ditch digger. So that's what I was told growing up. I didn't want to be a ditch digger, so I joined the military. But my passion was electronics and engineering and software programming. And that's what I thought I was going to do. And so that's the career I pursued early in the military. But then I met a chaplain in the Air Force who changed my life. He was the first solid father figure I saw, great husband, family man, etc. And he convinced me to use my life and background to make a difference in the world. So long story short, got out of the military, got my degree, and started that nonprofit you referred to. And my passion at that time was simply to make a difference around the world. So we worked in Kenya and Uganda and all over India and Mexico and here in the States. And that's where I fell in love with developing leaders.
So now backing up just a little bit before we get into the current. So you go into the military, you go to computer science, or you have interest in computer science, you go in the Air Force. Now, how did that switch from doing the military, Air Force, those type of things, to go down to or switch over to doing a nonprofit?
Sure. Really a big internal journey of trying to cover all the insecurity and brokenness of my childhood with being rich. Just to be honest with you, I just wanted to be rich because I thought that would validate everything that I was pursuing. All the things I was told I wouldn't be, I was going to prove them all wrong. So just to be completely frank, being rich was my goal. I was really good at programming. I had a couple software programs already copyrighted before I left high school. And that was my journey until I realized that what I really wanted to do, Devin, was make a difference in broken people. Because of my background, I wanted to help people. I know it sounds sappy, and I'm sure your listeners may cringe, but I really, by that time, I just wanted to make the world a better place. Because of what I had experienced, I wanted to change the world. So I just made a switch, and I switched out of all the engineering programs and decided I want to start a nonprofit.
Makes sense. So now, having the desire to help people, which I think is great, and I think there's a lot of nonprofits that do a lot of great in the world. Now, figuring out, there's nonprofits, everything from cleaning up the beaches to helping, the homeless to helping, all sorts of different people, because there's a lot of different needs and a lot of different things to be met. How did you kind of figure out where you'd focus a nonprofit, what that would look like, or kind of what problem you wanted to tackle?
Yeah. So that chaplain in the Air Force, he told me, um, turn your pain around, make your pain something powerful. So I really focus on families. So I started a counseling center, and then in our international work, we developed orphanages. So we worked on orphanages in India, built several there, one in Uganda. In Kenya, we worked with the tribes there for food programs. We planted some vegetable gardens, some hygiene projects, drilled a well. So my passion really was families and helping kids. Again, because of how I grew up, I wanted to help bring stronger families, stronger villages, stronger communities. So that became the focus of my nonprofit.
So you did that. Now, how do you know? Because we've had a wide variety of nonprofits on the show before and sharing their journey, and some of them have been helping out in hospitals. Some have been successful. Some rely heavily on fundraising. Some have other avenues for raising it. But it's always one where there's a lot of work that goes into keeping a nonprofit active and going, because you're having to continually either fundraise or otherwise do it. So how did you kind of find that spot to where you're able to, because 25 years is very, a good extended period of time where you obviously figured it out, but kind of how did you figure out from here's where we're going to focus on to actually building an organization around it?
Well, what I learned along the way and how it led to what I do now, starting my next company, I learned that micromanagement wasn't scalable. So I wanted to make a big difference. And I learned early on that I needed to develop leaders and teams. So I began building teams around all of our different projects. We had after school projects, we had food projects, clothing projects, the orphanages I told you about, the counseling center. And so what I fell in love with, Devin, and again, it just surprised me along the way, and it led to what I'm doing now. More than the actual work, I fell in love with developing leaders and teams, and I got really good at it. I made a lot of mistakes, lots of scars and failures along the way, but to grow the company to as large as we did, when I retired, we had 200 staff in 5 countries around the world. We had to develop teams. So that's what I actually fell in love with, and that's how it became scalable. Yes, so fundraising is a huge part of it. So at the end of the day, I worked my way out of everything. As you know, as an entrepreneur, when you start up, you do everything. You mow the lawn and clean the toilets and balance the books, and eventually you have to give all of that away. And I ended up giving myself 3 jobs. I'm the big relations person, I'm the vision caster, and I'm the leader developer. Those are my 3 main jobs. Everything else I developed teams for. So that's how we're able to work and grow and live and thrive and scale over 25 years. And again, it led to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and that's a great transition. So you started to touch on, but so you did nonprofit, you did that for 25 years. That's an extended period of time. Sounds like you found a lot of success, helped a lot of people, and did that. Now, when I recall when we chatted a bit before, you kind of were looking to elite or step back or maybe retire, but then you didn't want to retire, want to do something else. We'll walk us through a little bit of, what those steps were from going from the nonprofit to what you do today.
Sure. So as we grew from scratch to very large, a lot of our donor base, well, they're entrepreneurs, they run businesses, and they saw what I was building and how successful we were, and they started asking me for help. Could you teach us how to build teams? And so I began developing classes and curriculum and doing some mentoring with some of these small business owners and entrepreneurs. And I had a major burnout in my 40s, by the way, which led me to a part of the passion that I have now is really helping entrepreneurs lead good, healthy, scalable lives. Anyway, so these business owners began asking me for help, and it was a natural transition then as I retired from the nonprofit. I didn't want to do that anymore. I got burned out and I wanted something new. I'm a creator, I'm an innovator. I like building new things. And I thought about retiring, but I'm the guy, I'm never going to retire. I love work. I love what I do. I love investing in people. I still have a good 20 plus high energy years, and I want to give that to leaders and entrepreneurs. So that led to Leaders Edge.
No, sounds like you found a great place to transition to, a place where you continue to give back, as well as to have a lot of that reward going forward. So
that's right.
Awesome. Well, kind of as we catch up to the present day, before we dive into the two questions I always ask at the end of each episode, if you were to look now and say, okay, kind of extending it out in the next 6 to 12 months, kind of where you see things are headed, or kind of what are the next steps, what do you see as kind of the next steps, and what do you think the next 6 to 12 months looks like for you?
That's a fantastic question. So I began Leaders Edge through just a referral network, and I've had far more work than I could ever handle. Just because I've been in the community for over 30 years, I know a lot of businesses. So I get referrals all the time. But what I wanted to do was take our brand national and international. So our major work in the last 6 to 8 months and going forward is going to be just extend our reach nationally and internationally through different marketing efforts, because there are a lot more people out there that can help, because I live in a fairly small town. And there's a lot of business out there that I know we can impact and help their teams. A lot of teams are struggling, especially now with the economy. So that's the real focus for the next year, Devin.
No, makes perfect sense. Sounds like a great plan and a great path ahead of you guys. So, well, now as we have caught up to the present day of your journey, and even looking a bit to where you guys are headed, great time to transition to the two questions always asked at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question that I always like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
The worst business decision I ever made would have to be around my burnout time in my early 40s. And with a nonprofit, like probably many of your entrepreneurs are going to speak to a bad investment or something of that nature. Mine was simply not protecting my energy. When an entrepreneur, it's easy to run. Maybe you're like this, and a lot of your listeners are probably like this, 60 to 80 to 100 hours a week. And I didn't pay enough attention to my marriage, to my family, to my energy. I said yes to too many things. So if I could boil it down, Devin, the worst business decision I ever made was saying yes to too many things and not protecting my boundaries better.
No, and I think that's certainly something that, a lot of people hit into as you're working on it, whether it's a nonprofit, a startup, a small business. Hey, there's a lot of balls to juggle, a lot of things that you have to get taken care of. You feel like everything falls to you, which as a business owner it does. And so to find that balance to juggle all of it is, I think, an ongoing and a continual thing that you're having to figure out, and it's hard to find what that answer looks like, or how to balance it all. So I think that's certainly an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from along your journey. So
one of my greatest joys is helping, because we work with business owners around the country, is not only helping them scale their company and be more profitable, which they all do, but helping these CEOs and business leaders take more vacations, get their vacation home, spend more time with their families. That's one of my greatest joys, is helping them get that really solid work-life balance that we're all working hard for, but sometimes aren't able to achieve. So that's really one of my greatest joys, is helping leaders find that.
No, I think that's when you can find that right balance, it makes all the difference, and vice versa. When you're out of balance, it makes life a lot harder. So I think that's a great thing to help others find.
Thanks.
Second question now is, now if you're talking to someone that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, no, this is a good one. I deal with entrepreneurs and small business owners all the time. Probably the greatest piece of advice that I'd give these business leaders, these entrepreneurs, is surround yourself with really good people. Surround yourself with big picture people, with people who are going to keep you good perspective, keep you grounded. I can tell you the key to my success has been surrounding myself with people smarter than myself, mentors, business coaches that have helped invest in me, help keep me from being more stupid, help me make better decisions. So to all your listeners that are starting something, surround yourself with really wise people, coaches or mentors that will tell you the things that no one else will tell you. They have the guts to tell you the things that other people aren't going to say, especially your employees. You need one or two people like that to help you stay grounded. So that's my number one piece of advice.
No, I think that's definitely a great piece of advice, a great takeaway, and something to help people along their journey. So awesome. Well, now as we're wrapping up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, the two leaders that we help the most are those that are growing quickly and they need to build a solid infrastructure, or those who have kind of plateaued a little bit and need a breakthrough. If you're one of those two leaders or companies, please reach out to me at hr@yourleadersedge.com. That's my email. You check me out at yourleadersedge.com, and I'd love to set up a chat with you and see if I can help.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, make it a great connection. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, HR, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, the listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, and leave us a review. Helps us to share these journeys with even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents, trademarks, or anything else with your startup, your small business, feel free to reach out to us and grab some time. Just go to strategymeeting.com. Well, thank you again, HR, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thanks, my friend. I appreciate you having me.